So welcome to Bridging Worlds Animal Communication, Energy, and Healing Conference. I'm Dr. Jeff Grognet, and with me is Mary Beth Decker. And Mary Beth is an expert in intuitive animal communication, also medical intuition, and energy healing. In her sessions, she offers more than just animal communication. She uses these three methods, and she leads pets with their people to a place of emotional, behavioral, and physical healing. Based on her extensive experience with animal transitions, Mary Beth wrote an Amazon bestseller, Peace in Passing, Comfort for Loving Humans During Animal Transitions. And she also provides a roadmap to help guardians navigate this difficult leg in their animal's life. So welcome, Mary Beth.
Thank you, Jeff. It's really good to be here. You can see that my little friend Bunny, the cat, is also hanging out with us.
He's there to make sure you do everything right. That's what they're.
Yeah, very
they're
particular.
Okay, so we're going to be talking about the whole point of, you can call it transitioning, we can call it the moving from one phase to another, and it's a difficult time for a lot of people. And so why do people need help with this in the first place as their animals are aging and getting on in life?
Yeah, I think maybe it is obvious to me. I thought about it a lot, or I couldn't have written my book. But what I've noticed is since I've been alive, there has been a really big shift about how people view their animal companions. My latest little joke story, which is true, is we have memories of my husband's grandfather keeping the beagles in the backyard, and today I wake up with the dogs and cats in the bed. And so for me, that is the example that our relationship has really changed, and they've become, for many of us, a family member. And I do not mean this to disrespect us humans, but there's a deeper connection. And so the loss is felt, at least in the way I understand it, much more deeply than maybe it had been in the past.
Yeah, our connection with them has evolved, and I've seen it. And here's a simple way. When I first started practicing, we have a procedure called euthanasia, and the norm at that moment was for people to bring their dog, their cat in, drop them off, and go back home. And now that's pretty well unheard of.
Yes,
People are
thank you.
staying with them, they're attending, they're insisting on much better protocols, which is fantastic. And the whole thing has evolved, so that mirrors what's going on in the human mind. And that is, no, your dog isn't chained in the backyard or in the fence or whatever. It's part of the family now. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so that leads into, unfortunately, when we have a connection like that, we're much more susceptible to grief and the things that can create that as well, can't we?
Yeah, I noticed it. I actually wrote the second edition to my book a couple years ago because I noticed in myself and in everybody that I worked with is our grief doesn't start at the point where we have to decide, are we going to let them go naturally? Are we going to euthanize them? But it actually starts at the point where we see them physically or mentally going downhill, or that we get that dire diagnosis that says,
yeah,
you always knew there would be an ending, but now reality is kind of tapping you on the shoulder to say it's going to happen. And people, we go into our grief, and of course we do, but I don't know if it's said out loud often enough. It starts earlier. It just starts earlier. And I wanted to help people even at that point where you're trying to figure out how to find peace, not lose grief, not like say, oh, that was so easy. give me, I'm looking forward to the next time my animal departs the planet. No, but another way to have some good memories and sense of peace about it.
Yeah. Yeah, because we can be stressed throughout the entire process, or
Mhm.
we can do something different. Okay. I
Yeah,
think that's really the direction that you're pointing people, isn't it?
I am. I'm trying to, and I'm talking about this from a very personal perspective too, because in 2022, in the fall, we had 2 dogs and 3 cats in the family. And within 5 weeks, both the dogs and one of my cats passed away. So I experienced that at a level that I'd never experienced death before.
Yeah.
And none of that stuff that I've written about made this like, oh, well, that was easy. No, but it did help me, as I say, navigate and do find a few things that help me get through that
Mhm.
a little bit easier. That's all I'll say. It's not perfect, but it
No,
did help.
it's yeah. And the thing about from my experience,
Mm.
as I aged, as I would, continued in practice and such, it was later on that I felt it a whole lot more.
Yeah.
And whereas at the very beginning when I was young and such, it was a procedure. So I was sort of following the mantra of the boss I worked with, right? It was just a procedure. We just did it. But later on, it was a much more involved, as in I knew the people, I knew the dog, I knew the cat, and it just changes your perspective completely. And I just remember one day where
Mm.
I mean, I just remember clearly I had three heavy euthanasias during the day.
Oh,
And then I got called back on emergency, and it was one more.
oh,
And
goodness.
and I just remember doing that, and this is where grief comes in. I finished that euthanasia, and the people left with their pet. They want to bury him at home, and I closed up the doors, went back to my office, sat down, and broke. That was it. I said, okay, that was it. I've done four today, and it really, I think it was good that you can realize that it does hit you. But at the same time, as you say, I didn't have any time with it because it was just appointment done and that was it. Okay. There's no prep time in that sense, not like an
Yes.
owner would have. Right.
Yes, exactly.
But the advantage is when you're talking to people, you're trying to get them earlier on, so to give them time to be able to make it through, right?
That is it. Yeah, I'd like to see if we can start helping people find enjoyment even through these tough parts, and maybe not enjoyment, but the connection and the hap happiness that they're still with us, and
Mhm.
the seeing things as much as we can from their point of view as well, about like what do they need, what do they want, as well as what our hearts desire.
Yeah, yeah, and that's it. We want to make it best for them, also the best for us.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So how do we look at navigating this time, Mary Beth?
Well, I like to talk about myths that get in the way. I'm going to jump kind of into that.
Hmm.
I have noticed that a lot of people um, get really afraid that they're going to make the wrong decision somewhere along the way, because usually there are choices, and there are lots of choices these days. And I've met people whose dogs or cats or horses, whatever it is, birds. They think, did I make the right decision? Did I keep them too long? Did I let them go too fast? And they're even feeling like, are they still mad at me? And I'm not making this like a joke. They're like, I don't know if they've forgiven me in the afterlife, or I can't just let go of the guilt. And I think it's a myth. So I'm not going to say it that way. It's a myth to think you've got to get it right.
That's
um,
that's a good way to put it. Yeah. There is no right.
there is no perfection here at all. It's the messiest situation, and it's going to unfold. In every moment, there's going to be something else, probably for many of us. And so we do the best we can, uh, and trust. And maybe I'll get more into that, a different mindsets that you can have, but just take that myth away and think, I am not going to, my animal does not even need me to be perfect. They've already figured out we're not perfect. If you look back on your life with them and you think about, they're not expecting that at all. They're expecting love, tenderness, thoughtfulness, and that's really where they're at.
Good point.
Yeah. Okay. And then the other thing that really shocked me, that I love is that there's a lot of things that says when it's your time, you're going to go. That's it, and that's comforting to some, and I see how it is. But cats really brought me into a different belief, because I've seen cats who told me, "That's it, I'm leaving." This one cat comes to mind, Goldie. And when we told him, I told him for his person that, okay, I get it, Goldie. No more visits to the vet. He kind of looked and said, oh, I think I'll stick around for a little while longer. Like, because he was at the point where the vet visit was, and it was a regular vet, was just too much terror and upset for him. And so they moved into a different way of taking care of him. And so it seems to me that they do make choices, and they sometimes change their minds based on various things. My analogy, I live in the Washington, D.C. area over on the East Coast of the U.S., and there's a big beltway around the city. And there are so many exits, and there's a fast lane, the middle lane, the slow lane. And I feel like our animals, you can even say, like, what lane are they in now? Are in the fast lane? Did they move over to the middle lane? Are they now in the slow lane? And you think, oh, they're going to take that exit. They are ready. And then they go past, and you go, okay. Others are like, they're doing great, and something happens, and all of a sudden you can see them veering off and taking an exit, and you go, whoa. So I don't know if this is helpful or not, but I have noticed that things change, and be flexible. See what's
So,
happening.
so the decline isn't a straight line. You can't predict it. And what you're doing is you're trying to find out, okay, I mean, because people overanalyze that part, right? And that
Yes.
is they're looking back going, okay, is it next Tuesday? And then they go, well, and then by the time they get to Sunday, well, I don't think so. Maybe, kind of, and it's very, very unpredictable in that way. But like you say, there's a lot of things that impact that, and that is the animal themselves, and that is, hey, and this is something that I've seen, and
Hmm.
that is, I've seen them, they're in really rough shape, but then they say, but my dad isn't ready for me to go. I'm going to hang on for a while. Right?
Yes.
That type of thing, right? And you,
Yeah.
you can see them, they will rally, they'll keep going, and other ones, I'm sure you'll get into this a little bit, but the point is, when you can actually tell them that, hey, you can go, your mom is going to be okay without you. And
Yeah, that is really helpful. Yeah, that is one
yeah,
of the strategies.
yeah, and I mean, it sounds totally stupid telling your cat that you can go now because your mom can make it without you. And you're going, I'm telling a cat this? What is?
I'm sorry to laugh, but it's not stupid to me anymore. We've
I
we've done
know.
that. We've asked sometimes the other way around, a dog to wait a little longer till her person gets back from a business trip, and the doggy stuck around, and then we told her, anytime you need to go, the other way is like, it's okay, it's okay. Um, and yeah,
So it's a fluid clock.
thank you.
It changes all the time.
I
And
love that.
yeah.
Yeah. And I think we've been talking around it, but I'm going to say it right now. Death is not the end of the relationship. That's the other myth that seems to be less prevalent, but I'd like to say it from my own experience.
Mhm.
The first two animal communication uh, incidents that happened to me after I learned energy healing were two of my dogs came and visited me, and they came from the other side. They'd already passed. Timmy was gone for a number of years, and he came in and just showed up while I was making dinner, and he looked like he was actually sitting in the dining room. And I said, Timmy, and I looked over, one ear up, one ear down, my Mr. Timmy, and then he was gone. But in that moment, I knew he'd survived death as a personality. And he took the time to come back and tell me he was okay, big happy grin, and let me know that. It was lovely. I did do the check, like, am I crazy? Did I just, go over that whatever that line is? And I said, no, I don't think so. I'm here cooking dinner for my kids. That was real. So
Okay.
from there, I've connected with animals, and death is not the end of the relationship. I know you say they'll always live in our hearts, but for me, they're on a different plane of existence, but I'm up here going like this. They're still there, and they're still connected to us. It didn't end if we don't want it to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the big point. If we're open to it and can receive the messages, which is the real big key here, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. So, so, and I've got so many stories in my book about ways that people have heard their animals, not heard, that's not a good word, experience their animals coming back and letting them know they're okay. And so I, opened it up. If you think it happened, just say, thank you so much. That was great. I love it. Don't say, oh, I made it up because I missed them. No, don't do that.
Okay. Okay. So when we're talking about this time, as in
Yeah.
the diagnosis, you're seeing a decline or something like that. What type
Yeah.
of strategies can we work into with this?
One of the things that's available now, and like, this is not a surprise to you, alternative medicine is now reaching animals as well as people. And depending on where you live, of course, I live in a big area where there's lots and lots of alternatives. But I've seen this kitty cat is like my third or fourth animal that's getting acupuncture so that she can still run around and chase and
Mhm.
jump. And that was not available, or else we just didn't think about it. So that, from a personal point of view, there's so many things. You would speak better to this than I would, but I just got to say, it made a difference. Traditional Chinese medicine, I'm looking at it. I have a background in massage. So my dogs have been, as they got older, doing that. Laser therapy, and there's lots of other things that you can look at to keep the physical body comfortable so that they can enjoy more time with you.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah. The alternatives available now are almost endless. When in one talk I give, I talk about how to treat arthritis, for example, and the list. is, by the time you've got it, I mean, there's about 30 different things.
Yeah,
Okay. It depends on
yeah,
what's available in your area, and also what ones you want to tackle yourself as well. But the point is, you've got all these options. It's not just a case of, oh, we need a painkiller and that's it.
right.
We're far above that now.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for the conventional world, that's sort of the direction they're going in, an anti-inflammatory type of medication, and that's it. But we can do better. We can do better than that.
I agree. I've seen it in my own. I think I had a lot more years with my dogs and cats. I live in a townhouse, so they're up and down stairs, and it with acupuncture for me, it worked until it didn't. But that extra time, precious,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And so when you're getting advice from people, as because everyone's got an opinion on what you should be doing with your cat.
Yes.
So the one of the things you need to be able to do is to filter that.
Yeah. And I wish people would listen to their heart. That the mind will inform you, but the heart, because you've got that love connection with your animal, has intelligence. I think the Heart Math Institute they're pointing out that there's a separate intelligence in the heart, and it is energetic, but it's also, I believe, there's some physical stuff going on where there's intelligent cells in there. Listen to your heart, filter it through
Mhm.
your heart, and feel what's right for you and your particular cat or whatever. And if it doesn't feel right, keep looking. That would be it for me. Um,
Mhm.
And you might go against what others are telling you, but do you do you know that when you and your animals got together, they gave you their power of attorney, their medical power of attorney, and I want you to accept that with your whole heart. Because
Mhm.
I do think that, so if this is me, we and our animals have a soul connection. We didn't find each other by accident. We both said, okay, we're putting up with each other for X number of years. And in that, they said, in this world, you, you get to make the medical choices for me. Because that's the way it's set up in the human pet or human animal world now. If you live with humans or
Mhm.
you're whatever, you've got them as your guardian, they have let's see, if they live with you and you are the guardian, they have given you their power of attorney, and you have the right and the responsibility, as they say, to make the best decision possible, and they're not going to second guess you on it. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. There's nobody evaluating that unless you've got people with opinions. But the main thing is, it's, yeah, that is your contract with your little buddy,
It
big buddy,
is.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it is a big responsibility because people get worried about making the right ones. Going back to your thing at the beginning,
Yeah.
is today the day? I don't know, but you have to then go back to your heart and figure it out. But
Figured it out.
I like the analogy though, having a power of attorney.
Yeah.
It's like you've got a 95-year-old dad, and no, he can't really decide anything, and quite often they can't.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to say, okay, I will make the decisions. Yeah, and it is huge.
Yeah.
It is
It
huge.
is huge
Yeah.
because sometimes we have to take into, like, the cats are very clear about what they hate. Um, they're they have opinions, um, and we have to negotiate that too about whether we can figure things out for them, or we let this one go. So it's do
Okay.
we do the best we can, and that's all they expect. If we do it in love, they're
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, something you brought up earlier is that as you're watching them go through their aging, their disease, or whatever the impact is. One thing, and I saw this in the vet hospital all the time, and that is you can sort of look at them and say and just get this idea on what is their life force. Is it vibrant? Is it collapsed? Where are we today? That type of thing, And so do you want to talk about that a little bit in terms of how to assess where we are?
I would love to. So I always have things pop up for me visually, and I feel like our bodies and their bodies are like an engine, but and the life force is the equivalent of that stuff that gets the car going. So you got a car, you've got to fill it up, but we're born with a certain amount of life force.
Mhm.
And doing alternative therapies, giving them good food, making good decisions, that reinforces a life force. But there seems to be a time where the life force is declining, and those other therapies do not reinvigorate the body and the soul. And that's the one I
Mhm.
feel like what we're doing is we're moving into what might be called hospice for humans. We could call it
Mhm.
where we're
Sure.
just keeping them comfortable. And I think that many of us, um, if we can get back into our heart and see if things are making a difference the way they were, or if the decline is still happening, but we also feel like something has shifted. We might stop thinking that it's it's going to it's a good idea to keep them and to let them continue. And an interesting thing that's happened, that I've noticed, is sometimes people will report that they'll go over and they'll touch their dog or their cat because they were sleeping so deeply that they thought maybe they had passed on.
Mhm. Well, that's common.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and what I've discovered is that they're checking out to okay, so they're checking out the other side, folks. They're saying, like, how is this going to be? And so yeah, they're starting to like you know, like going on a trip, like where's the best place to stay? Who am I going to hang out with? What are we doing next? And so that is an indication that they're getting closer to saying, I'm ready, I've checked it out. We can do
Yeah.
what we like. So
Love that.
that's an indication.
We had that happen in our house, and
Ah,
we had an old cat called Cali, and we got her when she was a stray cat over close to where we got our first house, and then we saw her occasionally. She'd turn up in the barn, but she touching her, no way you could do it. You couldn't do anything, right? She was just this thing that sort of appeared in the corners sometimes, and that was it. And then she disappeared. And then about a week later, a guy came up at our door at midnight with this scruffy, wet cat in the rain, saying, "Is this your cat?" Because he'd seen her around our place, right? And we said, "Well, not really, but we'll take her, and help her out."
yeah,
She'd be hit by a car. She had a broken leg, broken pelvis, the whole bit, right? So that's why she'd be missing. But anyway, we took her in, and she became our cat. And dial it now, 20 years later, she's on our bed we had an electric heating pad with a pillow on top and a blankie, and that's where she sat all day long. And we'd get her off and we'd feed her, she'd go poop, and she'd go back up, and that was her life, right? And
yeah,
came home one time, and Louise went into the bedroom to say, check her, say hi. I went into the office or something, and all I heard is Jeff, and I went in there, and there she is beside Callie, and she lifted up her head and then dropped it, and there's no reaction at all. And that was the third time that she sort of shook her and lifted her head. And the best part, and we both looked at her and said, no, she's not. I think that's it. So I was going to grab a stethoscope. And just as we were thinking that, her head comes up and goes, "What's your problem?" You know, like it's like we both figured that she was gone. That was it, right? And she just sort of woke up and said, "What? Isn't it supper time?" Like it was just so stupid, right? So that's exactly what you mean. She was not there.
No,
you know,
no.
uh, and it was sort of an early warning sign that
Yeah,
we were thinking
yeah.
about that.
Oh, yeah. And I think those with dementia are probably they're experiencing some of the same where they're checking out the other side because I have
Hmm.
met. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
Okay.
little bit different. It's not quite as exorbitant in like what the heck just happened here, but that was a good story. Thank you.
Yeah, no, she was a great old cat. She was
Yeah, sounds
she
like
was, she
it.
was a lot of fun. But yeah, but her last year was on her pillow. That was it. But
Oh,
but it worked. It
wow.
worked really good for her.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, that sort of leads to the next thing. When when we're thinking of, is it time, is it not? One way we can do it is by asking them.
Yeah, we can.
So how do you want to sort of go over how do we do that? Because we're not going to just get they're not going to look us back in the eye and say, can you plan on 2 o'clock? That doesn't happen that way.
Um, it's I would say that you start at least asking them to show you in some way that they're ready to go. You might there might be something you could, yeah, I mean, literally, you could ask for some certain behavior. Um, and I did work with somebody who she asked her dog to give her that look, like look at me in the eye with the sofa eyes that just say, okay, I've had it. And she reported back to me that, yeah, one day she woke up and she went over and checked on her pup and it, they gave her the look. They gave her the look and she knew. Uh, the other is, I think it's more, well, I don't know how to exactly say it, where you look at them and you kind of ask, are you still having fun anymore? Is there still joy in your life? And you might just get a feeling where they're not. The answer is not much. I love you guys, but this is not fun anymore. What I That's a question that I ask as an animal communicator is like, what? How is it for you? And I've gotten various answers, um, and then it's up to the person to decide. I don't decide for them. I just pass the message along. So that's an inner knowing about, are you having fun? Are you enjoying your life anymore? Uh,
Yeah.
there's another woman who's got a very clear advice from her vet that that the the cat's life was it was in a he was in a terrible shape and it might be the best to let him go, and she looked at him and her cat, and he just wanted a little more time in the sunshine in Southern California. So she gave him about 3 more weeks, and then she knew that was the time. So there's stuff both ways.
Yeah.
And just whatever you decide, know that again, if you do it in love, they're not going to hold a grudge.
That's a good point. Yeah, there was an Irish setter I had as a patient, and
Yeah.
the setter had a tumor in the spinal cord, so it became paralyzed in the hind legs.
Hmm.
So we're talking a big dog. Okay, this is like a 70-pound dog or so, right? But
Yeah.
anyway, the back end isn't working. There's no bowel control, no bladder control. And the people they were fantastic. They put the dog on towels, they fashioned a diaper around it. They would carry him out, it was a him, and take him in the sun on the lawn in the
Yeah.
shade, and then they bring him back in and all that. And we had countless meetings about this, and that God, when is it time? And what the final thing that really answered it for them was this. I said, okay, you know how he's feeling in terms of how he is. I mean, he's taking the food. He loves his food. He always wants attention. He asks for what he wants. He was always telling them that, oh, I've got to do something, or what, I want food, water. And I just said, so if you were to get a rabbit and throw it in front of him, what would he think? And they said, oh, he'd want to go after it. He says, bingo. So I said that's the life force he's got, right? That isn't a life force that says I'm ready to go.
Right.
So as long as you can look at him and say that he's going to chase the rabbit, we don't need to talk about this anymore.
Thank you.
And that worked. It really worked. And I think he deteriorated, of course, but the point is that that gave them so much more energy to work with him and keep working.
I love that. Thank
You know,
you.
yeah. And so this is the point. Every case is different.
Mhm.
Okay, your cat passing away is going to be different from Shirley's dog that's passing away. Everyone has a different perspective on it. In that situation, I mean, you got I'm kidding, a 70-pound dog that you're carrying out to go to the sun and then bring back, and you're picking them up so you can clean up and change the towels and putting them back down. If you're 80 years old, you can't do that,
No.
right? So then we get physical limitations. And that's why I brought this up. You can't feel guilty because of your limitations, either physically or
No.
financially or anything like that.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that, because I believe that our animals are ready to take in the whole story. That what's our limitation, and then it is okay to say, this is not something that I can do. This is, and I don't have anybody else who's going to step in, or whatever it is. It is okay. It's a family decision, and they're still okay with it because it's a family decision. They don't want to make life worse. I don't believe that anyway.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. No, there's a lot, so much involved in that, and when you're making the decision, you're making it for both of you,
Yes,
but you're doing it with love in mind for your friend.
there you go.
Yeah,
And knowing for me, knowing that they survive and they're completely released from all the crap that they were dealing with in the physical body has made it a little easier for me, just because that's the way it is. That's true.
yeah.
We didn't we didn't get rid of them. We just sent them on to that
Yeah,
next place.
yeah, and gave them a good journey or a good part of that
Yeah,
journey so they
absolutely,
can
absolutely.
continue
Yes.
going, right? Yeah. So that's I mean, that sort of gets us from the diagnosis to, more or less deciding on the time.
Yeah.
And I mean, when you're looking at the actual procedure itself, I mean, that's I can do a whole webinar on that myself, and it's going
Mm,
to last an hour in terms of how you should position how you do it and things like
yeah.
that, but I think one of the big things is we want to be with them, correct?
Please
Yeah,
be with them.
yeah,
This is one where I'd say it's, please, it's not about you. If you're squeamish and all that stuff, um, please do whatever it takes to get the courage to be there with them. And I hadn't thought about it, but certainly from the vet's point of view, it's got to be a little easier to have the family there. I'm sorry to think about that, but I mean, if you're looking for reasons, definitely do it for your animal.
Yeah, I agree.
But
We always encourage people to be with them, at least until they were, I call it totally blottoed from this tranquilizer,
yeah,
at least stay till then. But we had some people that couldn't do that.
yeah.
And so what at our hospital, what we did was that one of the staff members became a surrogate. And so what we did is that as they were leaving, we would say, well, Jackie's going to take your place here, and she's going to be the one holding Sylvester's paw all the way through. And that's what
Okay.
she was the one dedicated to do that. So we would give the tranquilizer, and then the cat or the dog would be with Jackie on her lap, on the floor with them, whatever it took, and so that way there was no abandonment.
Yep, yep, I
Okay,
get it.
so that's something that we did. I don't think very
Mhm.
many hospitals do something I call it weird like that, but we really wanted to keep the transition going properly for the
Yep.
yeah.
That is so lovely. Thank you. That's
Yeah, yeah,
compassionate and
yeah. But the other side is, like, say, when you're doing it, the euthanasia itself isn't, it's not just a procedure. It's not just a case of, oh, we're going to tranquilize and I'm going to set up an IV and then I'm going to give an injection and we'll listen to the heart. And once it's stopped, it's over and that's it. It's not. Okay. And so the main thing with that is we want to create, like, as you say, create a nice memory of that. Yeah.
yeah, I have learned that we can do that even before we set up the euthanasia. I learned that some animals will even have a desire of something that they want to do, but even if nothing comes through for you, you can think about what is something we can do together that will make everybody happy. It'll be a memory that we did. Um, a couple examples with when my dog Mitsubishi is being euthanized at home. We set up what would be called a wake before he passed. So my kids came in because they were grown up, and they came in, and the neighbors came in, and the neighbors' dogs came in to say hi and feed him all that treats that he's not supposed to eat,
Perfect.
and um, and it was great. And he was just like, he's like, oh, my subjects coming to tell me how much they love me, but I love this. So it was so good. It was so good.
Yeah.
Um,
There's
my son,
here's
yeah,
some
you got it.
here's something you'll like, and
Yeah,
that is
please.
when we at the hospital, when we tranquilize them, that takes 10-15 minutes or so, and then you've got a sleepy puppy, cat, whatever. And my not so much cats, but dogs. I said every dog should go with liver in his mouth. And so what I did is I gave the tranquilizer, then I give them a bowl. It was dried liver, right? But I more or less a challenge. And I said, you got this whole bowl. I challenge you to give that whole bowl to your dog before he passes away. And what happens is they'll get sleepier and sleepier, and then they won't take it anymore. But quite often they will have liver in their mouth. Right? And that was my goal, and that is their memory was, oh yeah, he had liver, he was that, and he was loving it, right?
Yes,
And then finally it's like, oh, they're passed out with liver.
with
um,
liver.
but it's just that also gives you, the owner or something to do to keep the connection, to keep the love,
Yeah,
rather than sitting there worried about it.
yeah,
You're there promoting the connection more and more,
yeah.
you know.
Oh,
So it
yeah,
really, really does help.
it
It really
does.
does. Yeah.
It's happy days. And
Okay.
all kinds of things. I was working with a couple one time with the dog with neurological problems, and uh, they were wondering why he was still hanging on. I mean, I'm sure you've seen this, but I was shocked. Um, he was going around in circles. That's the only way he could walk at this point.
Right. Yeah.
And they said, "Why? Why is he sticking around?" And I asked him, and I said, "I always tell you what I get, but I have no idea. He wants a party." And the boyfriend talks to the girlfriend whose dog it is, and he says, "Oh yeah, we always give him a birthday party. He's waiting for his birthday party." And she said, "Oh, we get the little hats on all the dogs, and the cousin dogs come over and doggy birthday cake." So they were starting to plan a party for him. Um, so if something comes through for you and it like, that's so weird, I'd say do it anyway. Maybe
Do
you
it.
just connected.
Yeah.
Do it. Make them happy.
Yeah, and that's the key. Make the last moments, not a time of horrible grief or anything like that.
Right.
Just make it as, hey, guy, we're helping you. We love you. We're helping you, and I'm going to see you in the next life, which
Yeah.
leads to this. I've always been looking at this, trying to figure it out. Do I see it or not? Because when you read the scientific reports from way back, like 200 years ago, they said that when a person dies, there's actually a slight change in their weight, where we're talking minuscule amount, but the soul has that weight and it's left the body,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so, what's your view on dogs, cats, horses, and whatever on that?
Well, I think they have a soul. I'm staunchly in belief of that. I think that's why they're sentient beings. They have a life. Anyway, that soul. And I think at times if you're open to it, you might notice the soul leaving the body. I didn't even realize that was a possibility, but when my son's doggy, I was very close to her, obviously. When Peanut the pit bull, I love the name, passed, and I think we're on the second shot. I looked over at Patrick and I said, "Did you feel that?" And he says, "Yeah." I said, "I think she just left her body." He says, "Oh yeah, I think she did too." And I started sharing that with people, but I heard more stories about that. Some people even said, they felt like the soul had left the body a day or two before, and the body was just waiting to close
Yeah,
down.
yeah.
And I experienced that also. So it's talking about weird. It's weird, but I believe it's a real thing. And um, somehow it's reassuring. I don't know how else to say it, just to know that, yeah, something did lift and it was them.
Yeah, no, I'm totally on board with. Here's probably the
Ah,
weirdest thing everyone's going to hear from me right now. If you haven't thought everything else I've said is weird, but anyway, when I euthanize an animal, the normal thing in the vet hospital is that, oh, they're gone, and you put them into the plastic bag and you put them into the freezer. That's where they, unfortunately, that's where they go, unless you got to pick up directly to the crematorium, but most hospitals don't have that. So the thing that we did is that they're always on we use fluffies, we call them, this fleece, for on the
yeah,
tables and such.
yeah.
And we had big ones so that we could actually carry a larger dog, and from like a hammock once they passed, and it's quite easy to do it that way, and you don't hurt yourself, but it's really comfortable. But what we did is we left them uh, on the fleece, and usually we cover them with another one or something like that, until we had determined that their soul had left the body.
Oh,
And we did that through muscle testing. Okay.
really?
So, okay, it's like I said, if you thought I was weird before, now you can really think, okay, Jeff's doing some weird, talk about some strange stuff here. But the point is, we wanted to respect the animal and what was going on. Most of the people didn't know we did that,
Mm,
because it was, they were busy in their journey. That was not, it's not something they needed to know.
yeah.
But for us, it felt a lot more important. And so that's something to think about. With if you have your animal euthanized at home and you're going to be burying them at home, there's a whole lot of time there. Okay, and so
Yeah.
you don't need to worry about anything like that. But we didn't want to wrap them up and put them in a plastic bag, put them in the freezer, and sort of end it there.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's so wonderful. I don't care how weird it sounds. Obviously I'm on board, but
Yeah.
geez, that is so great.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that.
Yeah, that's not something you're going to see in the veterinary textbooks in terms of guides on how to handle euthanasia. It's
No.
it's a little bit farther than that. So anyway, I throw that out for you. In terms of soul leaving the body, yes,
Yeah.
it's
Yes.
there.
There's so
Okay.
much compassion and respect in what you just described. I mean, I feel like thank you. Thank you
Okay,
for saying
thanks.
that and
Okay. So
doing that stuff.
yeah. Any sort of final thoughts on that, Maribeth?
Um, and so since we've been going weird, I will go weird here on the final thoughts is for me, I've always invited family members who passed to be there to kind of say, we figured this out, come with us, uh, pal. So whether they're human or other animals from the family, I always picture that there's an invite, and I ask people if they want to imagine that there's family around just ready to say, come on, I got this, I got it all figured out for you. You're not alone, let's do it. And if you want to go to um ethereal beings, that can be included too. It just depends on what you resonate with. But that is just something that's
Okay.
given me a lot of comfort to just know that they're being greeted on the other side immediately. And
Okay.
they're not by themselves.
Okay, I don't feel weird at all now. Thank you very
Oh,
much.
good.
That's great.
Right.
Okay. No, this has been a really nice conversation. We're talking about a very serious thing, but we're both smiling all the way through. And so
Yes.
that's the way it should be.
Thank
That's
you. Thank you for letting us have this weird conversation, Jeff.
You're very welcome. Okay, so if people want to keep in touch with you, I know you've got a video. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, I did a video, very short, but it's navigating the last part of your animal's life. A lot of the things we talked about, but if you want to, you can get that video. I send it to you free. I based it on my book, Peace and Passing, but kept it short because I want to make it easy, just get you started in thinking
Good.
about how to do it. So I'd love for people to grab that video and watch it.
Okay, I'll have the link below, so they'll be able to, everyone can snaffle it up and see that. And this is the key. You may not need it today or next month, but once you get the ideas, then it's something to keep in mind when you're faced with a decision or a time where you have to start looking at these things. Okay.
So true.
Yeah, think of it as a prepping first aid for the emergency that's coming up. Do it that way.
There you
Okay.
go.
Okay. So thank you very much for coming on board, Maribeth. It's been
Thank you for having me. This has been delightfully weird and in such a good way.
yeah, I know that. I love it. When we go off the cuff, it's kind of fun to do that. So thank you very much. And thank you everyone for watching. Hopefully this has sort of given you a few more ideas on time of passing, how to handle it, how to handle yourself, how to work with your friend, and just make it the best possible way that it goes through. So thank you. I'll catch you next webinar.